with Sheila Bristow and Ellaina Lewis. Our evening is being streamed live and recorded. I'm going to begin with the land acknowledgement. Today we meet on the lands of the Duwamish, Suquamish, and Muckleshoot nations and other Coast Salish peoples, past and present. The staff, board, and artists of Jack Straw Cultural Center acknowledge that we are living, creating, working, and playing on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle and the Salish Sea, and we honor them and the land itself with deep gratitude. I want to thank our funders, City of Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, For Culture, Washington State Arts Commission, National Endowment for the Arts, Lester and Phyllis Epstein Foundation, Arts Fund, and individual contributors. And speaking of individual contributors, Giving Tuesday is December 2nd, so I hope you will remember Jack Straw. We are raising money for our artist residency programs like this one, such as this artist support program, also the Jack Straw Writers Program. Info and links at jackstraw.org/donate. Jack Straw Artist Residency deadline is Monday, November 24th, so you could apply to be part of the Artist Residency Program. Info and applications are at jackstraw.submittable.com. All right, so I'm going to introduce you to Sheila Bristow and Ellaina Lewis.
Hi, I'm Sheila Bristow. So great to have you all here and to be back in the studio where Ellaina and I spent some fun hours recording a song cycle, and I thought I would fill out the evening with a few other compositions just to make it a broader perspective. And there are more chairs back there if anyone wants them. So you're welcome to do that as you come in. So I'll introduce each piece, we'll perform it, and then if you've got questions afterwards, we can have a chat as we go from piece to piece. One of the first things that happened when I came into the studio to record was who's back there, said, oh, I need to change the setup. I didn't realize you were classical music. I thought you were new music with the mics. And I was like, yeah, it's classical new music. It's new classical music. But it is kind of a niche genre, actually. It's sort of like saying I choreograph ballets or something. It's a very historical form with this rich history that is sometimes intimidating as a composer, you know, because you know the best. Like, can I write something as good as Beethoven today? I don't know, you know, but it's a lot to draw on, and so it's an interesting challenge and privilege to be writing music and working with performers who've honed their craft in this tradition. So tonight, I'd love to start with a piece I wrote about 15 years ago for a faculty recital at PLU, and this is a duet called The Persistence of Song. And it's a really amazing poem. If you just want to glance at it in your program for a bit, it's extremely wordy. A lot of art song and classical music, say the 19th century, is themes of I'm in love, I'm really, really in love, I'm still in love, I love flowers, I'm looking at nature, they're reminding me of my love, you know, that kind of thing. And this is a totally different genre of a kind of absurdist poetry with a lot of transitions. But the poem works like a palindrome. If you look at the top line, although it is not yet evening, it parallels with the second to last line, and though it is not yet evening, and it works its way back to the middle. It's like a reflective poem. So I tried to do that with the music and have different little elements that were keyed to each phrase, each poetic line. It makes it complicated for the singers because there's a transition like every 4 bars. But my wonderful colleagues, Holly Boaz and Lucy Weber, have mastered it. They're going to come up and sing with me.
And
also ask performers questions too. They'd be happy to do that as we go along. Moving right along. I was thinking about the challenges of text setting. As I said, that poem is particularly intricate, and there's other things that come up in the song cycle we'll end tonight with. I wanted to share a choral piece that I wrote a few years ago as well, which had some interesting text moments. This was a piece I wrote for Seattle Pro Musica some years ago, which they performed a number of times. And it was a Latin text, and I was asking a friend if I thought if I should do it in Latin or English, and he's like, well, why not? Both. You know, do some translation and combine it. So I did that, and it was very fun to translate because you're trying to think about how words can be sung. What are beautiful vowels? What are beautiful just sounding consonant combinations? So it's great to have some control over the words. You know, unlike being a singer-songwriter, you're using someone else's words most of the time. So I think you've got the text in your program, yeah. The beginning part is English. I bolded what parts you'll hear. And then the Latin part that I chose to set in that language is because there's a particular word in English, frankincense. It's not very melodious to sing. And it's much better sounding in Latin, where it's turis or something like that, so much simpler. So that's the Latin one. Another topic that's interesting, sometimes people ask me what it's like to be a woman composer, and you know, all I can tell them is like, here's what my Tuesday's like or something. But there's a fiction that there have not really been women composers throughout history, and that is wrong. It's just, who do we know about are people who are disseminated and published and managed to make it through the sands of time and history and wars and everything that's going on. One area where women did some very intricate music was in convents. When you think about it, it's a group setting where you have more leisure time perhaps than if you're trying to run your own farm or something, you know, in the Middle Ages. And typically a group of people who are singing together every day. And so there's some music that is being discovered with early music research that comes out of that. So I have that in my mind for this piece, kind of an imagined community of women who have roots in some liturgical music but then go wild with it. So this piece, Fair as a Dove, starts with something that's like a chant melody. That's that first text, the first line, I saw her, fair as a dove. That repeats again with more and more elaboration as it goes along. So this is just a journey of imagination. And we were going to try and sing it, and that didn't go well, partly because I have asthma and coughing fits don't really beautify choral music. So what I'm going to do is just play a recording of Seattle Pro Musica's ensemble performing it.
Sorry.
After a mic adjustment. Here we go. Great. So enjoy this recording.
Ooh.
was from Seattle Pro Musica, conducted by Karen P. Thomas. Wonderful group and wonderful conductor. Any questions about that piece? John?
Do you, will you some observations?
Yes, sure.
So I've known this piece for years, and I did not realize that it was for the Feast of the Assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand the text in a totally different way. All these rising
Yes.
sorts of images rising above the rivers of water. Who is this who rises from the desert? So that was a bit of a revelation for me. So I'm glad that you put it was that context for us.
Right. For those who are not liturgically minded, the Assumption of Mary, tell me if I'm wrong, John, but is a kind of visionary idea that because Mary, the mother of Jesus, was without sin, that she would not die in the normal way, and it said would kind of ascend to heaven, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, the smoke imagery in it. I think this was a concert based on the Song of Songs, so there's a lot of interesting, colorful biblical imagery in the whole program. Yeah.
May I make one more observation?
Sure.
I thought the formal structure, as composers, we always say, what do I do with short text? Right? How can I get enough music out of a short text? And I thought what your solution to it was really worked well. Because you started with that chant, and then you repeat it. So kind of an A, B, A, C, A. You start with that chant like that, and then each time you came back to I saw her, it's more and more elaborate. So I thought that worked very well.
Thank you. John is a wonderful composer and teacher, you might notice. He's always ready to analyze. It's great. Anything else? You don't have to be a composer to say anything, but it's okay. Okay, we shall move on then. Next piece does not have text. It's a set of piano preludes. And I wrote these as kind of an exercise, and that got expanded into an actual piece of music, which was fun. In the world of music, there's this thing, we'll just throw it out there. It's called a 12-tone row, and that is an idea of writing a melody that uses every single pitch in the octave of a piano. So normally you might just use the 7 pitches, like do, a, dear. Sorry, I'm away from the mic. 12-tone, you catch every single pitch in there. And what it means is it's kind of disorienting as a listener because you don't have a sense of what is home. You can't predict really what's coming next. It's kind of an abstract shape of a melody as opposed to a hummable tune. But they can be very beautiful if you like abstract shapes. I'll just say that. There's also a whole system of kind of mathematical manipulations with those melodies to create big pieces. In this case, I just used it as an actual tune, did some kind of free variations on it, and you'll hear some hints, references to composers. As I was saying, as classical composers, we have this whole history, this backlog, library in our mind of things. So you might hear a little something that sounds like Prokofiev, or a little something that sounds like Mingus. Just depends. So enjoy these preludes.
I wanted to ask you if the naming of the songs has anything to do with the story, in the sense that the first one is called Echo 1, but usually an echo is a response to something else, meaning like it almost can't exist without something being said first.
I think that was the echoes that are actually in it, where it's doing the same notes in different octaves.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the other one also, so it echoes within the movement itself, yeah.
And then for the third one, which I joke in Italian, but is that maybe a musical term that it's used in a different context?
Yeah, it's a standard musical term for kind of, it's often the third movement in a symphony that's like lighthearted and can have some humor in it. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, we are on to the Grimké songs, which is a song cycle. And a cycle in classical music can mean many things. Sometimes they are just poems by the same poet that the composer chose to sort of arrange like a bouquet. Sometimes you find a poet who's written a story in sort of a multi-movement format with a bunch of different poems, and then that gives you your structure right away. In this case, I was commissioned to write this piece by someone who has a family relationship with the poet, Ellaina Grimké. And she was kind of an early Harlem Renaissance writer. She was a playwright, wrote stories, wrote poems, very educated woman, a lot of struggles with being African American in that time in history and trying to get her stuff published. So the commissioner had a number of goals for me in terms of what sort of texts I would assemble to make this piece, and wanted to include some of her poetic use of language. She talked about colors a lot, very passionate person as well. Also, the cause that she wanted to keep bringing forward to the public was lynching. So she wrote a couple different plays about that, and I think she was a journalist as well. Kind of a tall order to combine those things in one cycle. And the poems are from different magazines at different years. So it's kind of assembling someone else's scrapbook together to make a coherent whole, which was my goal, to make kind of a story of an imaginary character who starts in spring, young and happy, falls in love, then has a terrible life experience of coming upon a lynching, has some grieving, and then it's spring again, somewhat happy, but of course very bittersweet from the challenges of everything. So it's hard. Trees is the central poem, and that's the one about lynching, and it was the hardest to set, not because of just the subject, which is not something I've tried to make art out of before. It's also the most formal structure of the poems. You can see some of them are a little bit symbolist, have some playing around with line length and how they are on the page. So that's why I wanted to give you the text. And Trees is a full-on sonnet, 14 lines, and a pentameter, regular rhyme scheme. And it's kind of a way to hide what's coming inside that regularity. And it does the classical tradition of the first 8 lines are setting out a whole subject, and then the final 6 you kind of shift to the heavy part of it. So I hope you enjoy this, and feel free to ask both me and Ellaina questions after this. She's been a wonderful collaborator, gone through many drafts of some of the songs, and we're here. We've got it. We've got it down now.
Watched the spring dawn come. first, congratulations on very wonderful work. The Harlem Renaissance is often associated with certain kinds of, shall we say, vernacular black music, especially jazz, which was emerging at around that time. Also tail end of ragtime,
Right.
beginning of the blues. It might have been a tempting thing to evoke some of that music, but you chose not to do that. And I'm curious, there could be all kinds of very perfectly good reasons not to, but
Right.
wondering what your thoughts were about
I
that.
did think about it, and there's some kind of little inflections that I would say are that, but they're not my style, and I don't want to write kind of fake music, you know what I mean? Of trying to imitate something that's not in me. So it is a tricky choice. Again, when we're talking about the whole body of music, not just classical music, but everything else. So I thought about it, and there's a little sprinkling, but not a structural use of that. Yeah. It's tricky too because her poems, like this set, they're of different styles and from different periods too. So yeah. Other thoughts? Yes, Lucy.
Oh, Holly, you go.
Holly. Yes.
So when you were given these pieces, were you given specific pieces, or did you sift through all of her work?
Sifting.
And then when you're living with these pieces, how does it come to you where you decide, oh, this is where I'm going to go tonally with this specific piece, and the thread for all of them together? How did you, like, when you sat down at your piano, were you thinking, okay?
Did it sound like they threaded together?
I felt like it was a thread. I don't know. I thought
No, because I wrote them over a number of years with other pieces in between, which is tricky. But like the minor third thing, da, 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 that keeps coming back, that was kind of a thread, a little bit of bluesiness. And actually for the structure of it, like the opening one, I was thinking about Juliet's Waltz, and in opera where, in Romeo and Juliet, where the character opens with this great fanfare waltz because she's so happy about a party, and then we all know it goes downhill from there. So I had that parallel in mind, and then wanted a dancey thing at the end to frame it. So there's some structural considerations, but it was tricky. I went through a lot of poems, and tricky to find the order. So I hope it worked. Because you try to tell a story one way or another. Yeah, Holly.
I definitely think you told a story. There was a very clear arc to them that was fun to follow. I would love to hear just a little bit about what it was like for the two of you working together as you were sort of refining the pieces and preparing them for recording. And did you ask Ellaina for a lot of feedback? And Ellaina, were you making suggestions?
Well, no, I would be like, what do you think? And she's like, what do you think? And that happened I think earlier today. So Ellaina's a very tactful person who doesn't just jump in.
No, it's not.
Come on in.
Sheila, you're amazing. So Sheila is amazing, and I know it. But it's also, I do give feedback and I give my ideas and things, but it's always in the context of what do you think? Do you know what I mean? Because this is not my piece. This is now the world's piece, right? And so, yeah, I always wanted it to be collaboration that way. I don't think I ever said, heck no to that, Sheila, anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah. There was one point in the trees one where I had a high note on an eval, and then I was like, oh, maybe it'll be okay. And Ellaina sang it as well as she could, and then I was like, I should change that. She's like, yeah. But she wasn't going to say it, so.
It was a good idea.
It was a good idea, yeah. Yes.
So in the same thread of collaboration, so the poems are written by someone, then the music is written by yourself, but then it's interpreted by you.
Mm-hmm.
How, the question is for Ellaina, how do you make sure that, or not make sure, but attempt to honor the separation of composition, both lyrically and musically, but then also insert yourself in it in a way that adds to it, because if you're too detached, then nothing comes up, but then we hear you and it feels almost like yours, but it's from the three of you.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you got that sense. It is, I suppose, part of the job that I do to, you wouldn't just want to hear me singing, right? You do want this, you do want the poetry, you want it all infused through the music. And so the way that I do that is when Sheila was pouring through poems, I was also pouring through poems, getting familiar with them, the style, the language, the colors, and the devastation, right, in some of those. So I feel like came through the course of the whole process. I don't think I could have gotten these last week and done that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure if that answered your question.
But
Exactly.
yeah, it does. But how long did the process take between the collaboration of you two?
We started looking at poems, as I said, several years ago with the commissioner. And at first, this is Catherine Wells, who's actually a singer herself, a wonderful artist. And she'd been thinking maybe it would be kind of a theater piece, maybe she'd read some letters, like it was very formless. And we finally got down to traditional song cycle. I'm like, okay. And and then, yeah, you were reading poems, I was reading poems, Katie was, we were all having a poetry group together. And then we've tried out some of the songs at like casual forums and things. So this was not the first time in public for all 5 of the songs, like, because we did, yeah.
Right. But
Which
for
is
all
nice.
5 of the songs together.
In a
it
row,
was the
yes, the very first time.
Oh,
So
wow.
you're part of that, yes.
Yeah.
And that is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Was there something in the commission that said 5 songs, or how did you choose 5?
Odd numbers are good in a lot of ways in art, and just thinking through the story, and it's also, I think, a good length for a concert program. You know, if you start going like over 20 minutes, it's kind of hard to focus on all concerns. So it just seemed like a kind of a standard concert length and concert number, and I felt like it got the story across without adding too much more to it. So yeah, took some time.
Did you have to go back, or did you go back and study the whole history of the family and where
I tried. It's a very complicated history, though.
it is?
Yeah, it is. And I encourage you all to read it. But you know, if you want to read up on her, there's a Wikipedia article that is voluminous and confusing. But the whole stories of folks who were descendants from slaves trying to get an education, and so much depended on what state you were in as to your legal status, your access to resources, and some families that were wildly spread apart. It's interesting and challenging, and the woman produced so much under these circumstances is amazing. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we'll be here for a few minutes if you want to talk, not in public and on record for the world to hear. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to play for you. Thank you. Duet at the beginning. I didn't mention their concert, did I? I did not. They're singing it in December on a concert on the Classical Tuesdays in Old Town Tacoma, and they're doing a really neat program of all women composers with Northwest connections. So you can ask them about that. Should be cool. December 9th. Thanks.